Hello, and welcome to The Connecting Point. I am Dr. Marcy, your facilitator for this discussion today. This is the place where creators connect to inspire, share their ideas and stories to transform the world through raw and unedited talk. And today, audience, I am here with a celebrity in her own right. Yeah, I know you're looking like that, Miss Littel, but it's the truth. I am here with Mrs. Joyce Littel. And if you haven't heard of who she is, you will find out tonight. And Miss Littel, I welcome you to The Connecting Points.
Well, thank you for having me. Thank you for even having the interest in wanting to talk with me. I am grateful for this opportunity, and let's have some fun. Let's share.
And Ms. Littel, I have to tell the connecting point, thus the name of this platform.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I know one is my hometown and your hometown.
Right.
It would be Athens, Georgia.
Athens, Georgia. Yes. Come on, represent.
And the other is one that is so dear to me.
Yes.
Dear old Morris Brown. Yes. Yes, and I think we both bleed purple and black.
What? Cut me now. Cut me now. You'll see.
But that is the connecting point, everyone. And we are so happy to have you here today. Now, Mrs. Littel, I usually ask the guests to tell a little bit about who you are, where you're from, and where you are now. I already told where you're from, but go ahead and tell where you are now.
Well, as mentioned, I'm from Athens, Georgia, but I live in Stockbridge, Georgia now. I've been here over 38 years since I graduated college from Morris Brown College. And I've been in the music and radio industry as a personality and now as a manager. So it's been 39 years since I've been in the field of entertainment. And the good thing about it is now it's hard and it's challenging, and we'll probably get a chance to talk about that. Mm-hmm. But the great thing about it is it's still exciting after 39 years, because I'm often asked from people is when you're going to retire. And I said, it doesn't take much to talk, because that's what I do. But I still enjoy it. And so I don't know when that day will come, but I'm grateful and I am thankful that God sees fit to still keep me in this industry for as long as he has.
Well, that means it must be a passion.
It is. It really is. Yeah. But here's the thing, Dr. Marcy. I didn't even know that it was. When I left to come to Morris Brown back in 1979, I left as a business major because I was always involved in community activities. I was always involved in activities in school from elementary even through high. And so when I knew that I had a little business savvy about myself. And so when I came to Morris Brown, that was my major, was business. But I have and still have a cousin who's a professor over at Clark Atlanta. Mm-hmm. And my mom said, make sure you go and tell James, which is my cousin, Dr. McJunkins over at Clark Atlanta, that I'm in the city. And I hung out at Morris Brown for probably a few weeks, maybe a month or so, before I made my way over to Clark to visit him. And when I did that, that's when my whole world changed. Yeah, it was just totally unexpected. And if I have the time, I'll quickly tell the story. When I went to his office, if you're familiar with the Woodruff Arts Library, underneath the Woodruff Arts Library on the AUC campus is the mass communications department. And that's where I went to see him because he's a professor of journalism. And while I was in his office, now right across from his office is WCLK, which is the jazz station that is ran by Clark Atlanta. And when I'm sitting in his office. We're close cousins, so we can talk. And we're just talking. And one of his colleagues, the program director at the time for Clark Atlanta, actually came in his office and sitting in there listening to me talk. And then he said, "Come with me." And I'm looking at him like, who this man and why I need to go. But I went, and he actually took me to WCLK, and he asked me to read a public service announcement, and which is a announcement of it's a non-paid announcement. And so I read this announcement, and while I was reading, he was actually recording me. And when I finished reading it, he played it back and he says, "That's you." And I'm like, huh? Because it just never dawned on me. I was taught and raised by a teacher. And so, she taught us in the house as well as we learned in school. And so one of the things that I thank my mother for is making sure that we speak correctly. And that's just what I knew. And he just fell in love with my voice, a voice that I didn't even know. And that's how my career changed from a business major to mass communications. And here's the blessing of it all is I majored in it and I graduated from it, and I've never had to apply for a job. And I've been in it for 39 years. So it was a gift. And that led it to be my purpose in life and my passion. I learned that it was my passion. I didn't know it originally.
Interesting.
But I learned that I was passionate about this career that I feel that God placed me in, because I had no idea before.
That was a divine setup.
Yeah.
When you went over to Clark, it was.
It was. Yes. It really was.
Now, I did hear you say that, you had no idea that this was coming down your journey into where you are now. However, as a little girl, I want to go back to when you were a little girl. What did you imagine? What were some of the things that you were thinking about, because I have children that watch this podcast. And so my students and I, we talk about imagining. And if you can see it, then you say it, and then you say it, you do it, and you will be it.
Well, so, you know what? I had dreams and I had goals. I did. I mean, I came from a household that you were gonna have that. You were going to pursue something in life. And because I was always involved in something. I think I drove my parents and my older siblings crazy, because they always had to take me somewhere or pick me up before I were able to drive myself, because I always liked to be involved in things. And so I knew from that I wanted to pursue something that kept me involved. And honestly, before I changed my major, I felt that I was going to be a manager or a part of a Fortune 500 company. I was going to be a boss. I was going to be a CEO, because I was creating and developing and seeing projects and events and things through. And so I knew even at an early age that I wanted to be a little boss. See, I wanted boss. I wanted to influence. I put that. I wanted to influence. So I had dreams. I had dreams about and aspirations of becoming the CEO or becoming, a Black woman in charge. I did as a young woman, as a young child, even in middle school and definitely in high school. I knew I wanted to do those things. I just didn't necessarily know the path but I knew I wanted to do those things. You have to start from somewhere,
Yeah.
or else you won't do anything. So that's why I was always jumping in stuff, just to see what it was all about, to see if it was something that I wanted to do or had the capabilities of doing. And so I knew as a high school student, I knew that I had the capabilities of leading. I knew I had that because I would lead certain events and activities, in school. So the goal was to go somewhere and develop myself into a leader, into a professional leader, because I knew that I was able to do it as a young adult and even as a young child.
And actually, what you imagined, you did become.
Yeah, in a sense.
You really did.
Yeah. Yeah, because
However,
I'm boss.
yes, and you plan events,
And I plan
spectacular
events.
events.
Yes.
So what you imagined it became, but God wanted to add another layer that you didn't know
Exactly.
about. And so that's where the radio came in.
Yes.
But I look at you, when I see you, you're smiling, you're happy. So I know you're doing something that you enjoy.
Right.
However, I know that there were times when it wasn't so easy.
Still ain't. You know what I'm saying? I'm sorry, that might not be the right, but it's, first of all, the business itself is competitive. It's a competitive business, and you're competing against other stations. You're competing against other personalities. You're competing for space. You're competing for likes. It's a competitive business, and we are graded. Our grade is our ratings. And if we're getting poor ratings, of course, that's a poor grade. So now you got to figure out what I got to do to build up my grade so I can get a passing grade or I can get the #1 rating. So that is still constant. It's constant for me as a personality, because I still do the Quiet Storm Monday through Thursday nights on V103. And it's a challenge for me because I'm a manager of a Black news and talk station that's on an AM dial that's got to be as big as any other station that is out there. Well, thank God for our digital platform, which is what we're on.
Right.
That's allowing us to reach the masses, by clicking on a button, and here we are. So it's still very, very challenging. Is it challenging to the point to where I want to throw the towel in and give up and say I'm done with this? No. But it's challenging to the point to where you constantly have to think of what I got to do as a personality to keep people listening to me. And I've been doing this for a very long time. And it's challenging to me as a brand manager to get people to listen and to stay listening to the station in which I manage. And I manage people. That's challenging in itself.
In itself, I know.
That is 16 to 17 personalities that I manage on a daily basis. So, yeah, it's still very challenging. And when the ratings doesn't come in the way that you want them, the way that you feel that you have put the work in and it should, oh my God, that's a whole different conversation. That's a different conversation to you yourself. It's a conversation from the manager that's managing you and the station as a whole. So, it's constant. It's been constant for 39 years. But as I mentioned, it still doesn't make me want to throw in the towel.
That's because we really never retire from a calling.
No, my
You
mother,
hear people say that.
my mother teach her great grands. You know what I'm saying? It was her calling to teach, and she has, great grands that are 5 and 6 and 10 and 11, and she'll correct them at the drop of a hat. She'll read to him. She'll provide all kinds of resources to him because that was her passion. That was her love, which was teaching. It's the same thing with me now. I hire students right out of college who are as green as the leaf outside. Well, they're not green anymore. But so it is now my responsibility to teach.
Yes.
And I get joy from giving all of this that I know to them. And then because I'm much older, I've been in it and they know this digital world, they teach me. They like, Miss Joyce, we don't do that like that no more. So it's always a space of passion. If you didn't have it or don't have it, then you need to go find it. And then that's what you
please
need
say
to
that
do.
again.
Yeah. You got to go find it because that is what's led. It's not led by money. Now you are praying and grateful that you are being paid and that you hope that you are being paid royally and that you're being paid your worth, but it still isn't what drives you. What drives you is the end result of what you love doing. That's what drives you.
And what you love doing, I people that watch this podcast, I'm always talking about purpose.
Mm-hmm.
If you do not find your purpose, it is hard to navigate in this life.
Yes.
And your purpose, you're only going to get it from God.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to find it anywhere else.
Yeah.
And
My church, the leadership church, we've been doing these Get Clarity series. Mm-hmm. And one of the series actually that I hosted with my pastor, Pastor Tony Cash, was on purpose. Mm-hmm. And how, God puts you in places and gives you resources and gives you talents so you can use those things to find your purpose in life. And once you find it, it is on you to mold it and to develop it and to grow it and those things. So that's what life is living out your purpose, finding your passion. And with those two things, you'll definitely find the joy.
Absolutely. Now I don't know if maybe I missed it, but what was your first radio?
My first was actually from college. It was WCLK. Once you become a mass comm major, then you have internships in which you have to complete. And one of my internships was at WCLK. And so that's where that's where the bug just really set in at, because I saw all of these, and it's a jazz station, and I saw all of these classic stars coming in, and I'm like, that's Al Jarreau right there. And so I started seeing all of these people, and then they were having these concerts, and this was back in the 80s, the early 80s at that. And they were having these concerts, and we would go to the concerts. We would get in free. I was like, okay, I'm really liking this. And when I graduated, Michael Thurman, CEO, Michael Thurman, and my oldest sister, Alethea, graduated high school together at Clark Central. And my sister is the ultimate networker, because if you tell her something, she's going to work towards helping you out in some form or fashion. And she knew that I was a mass comm major. They had just started, maybe a few years prior to me graduating, WXAG in Athens, 1470. And when I graduated from college, I went to Miami to go and hang out with my sister just to woosah for a minute. But I got this call from Michael Thurman, and he asked if I wanted to come and start working at WXAG. And of course, I could not say no, because at the time I did not have employment in the industry. And I accepted the job. I hung out an additional week in Miami. I still had to woosah. And then I came back and started working at WXAG. And I worked there about 3-4 years. and then Silas
Yeah.
Alexander, Simon Baby, he started working there. And that's how he and I started our friendship and became best friends. Well, we worked in the city for another 2 years, and then he got a job at WIGO in Atlanta. And one Saturday, I went to hang out with him at WIGO in Atlanta. He put me on the mic, and his boss called me and said, "Who are you?" And at that point, I thought I was in some trouble. I didn't know the lady, but I was in trouble, and I got Simon in trouble. But she didn't. She offered me a job on the spot
Look at
to
that.
come and work at the radio station. She said, "I've been listening to you and Simon ever since he put you on the air. And I love your personality. I love your voice. And we need a female in the midday, and we want you to come and work for us." And so I accepted the job on the phone that Saturday. And I came back to Athens, and I had to tell them that I was leaving. It hurt some feelings, but they understood that you have to go and grow.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so I did that, and I came over to WIGO. Simon and I worked together for about 2 years there, and I got a call from Mike Roberts, who was the program director
Yeah.
for V103. And I didn't believe it was him, because we used to play so many pranks on each other. And I thought this was a prank. And I'm like, "Are you real?" you know and
And
so
it
I told him
was.
something to do that proved that it was him, and he did it, and it proved that it was him. And he offered me a job. It was an overnight job. The young lady that I was sitting in for, her name was Cheryl Christopher, and she was also from Athens, Georgia, and she was doing overnights, but she was on an indefinite leave of absence because of an illness. And so I filled in for her, and I did that for about 4 or 5 months. And then Mike Roberts said, "I want to try you at something." He said, "Your voice is so soothing. I think you would work hosting the Quiet Storm." And I was like, "Okay," and the rest is history. One thing about the job is that you're often asked to work in other places, and that you're under some form of contract when you're doing the job. And if someone asks you to come someplace else, then it is on the job to either challenge that or you move on. Well, my job challenged it. That's why I've been here and still here.
You know, just listening to your journey is amazing.
Thank you.
Anyone who has any kind of spiritual radar can see what was happening. All of these connections were destiny helpers. And when I say that, I want to make, note, a destiny helper is someone who helps you journey through your purpose and your destiny. Some of them you may know, and some you may not know. But clearly, that is what happened with you.
Yeah. And that's what,
I mean,
that's what I try to be. And I'm going to use that word in my staff meeting. I'm your destiny helper here.
that's right. That's right.
And that's what I feel that I am still here for that. I had opportunities to go and do even bigger things, but I felt that, my purpose was here, and I see it more so now than ever, because, people need someone that has knowledge and experience, who are willing to share. It's not often that people are willing to share knowledge and experience because of fear of losing what they have. But I don't have that fear. Because I've lost before and I've gained again, so I don't have the fear, and I know that I'm in a position now to be the destiny helper for a group of young people who want to still be in this business that I've been in, and I'm helping them to journey through it so they can find their success. So that's a good word. Like I said, I'm going to use it at my next staff meeting.
Yeah, and really that's what we're all here for.
Yes.
And I often refer back to my classroom and what I'm teaching children. Someone who's knowledgeable shares what they know. You're really not knowledgeable if you can't share what you have.
Mm-hmm.
You're just holding on to information.
Mm-hmm.
But a knowledgeable person will share what they know with others to help them grow. And then it becomes a cycle.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, come on, audience, let's be destiny helpers. And some may not be young people. It could be someone your age or older. But I think it's important that we share the knowledge that we gain with others. Mm-hmm. Now, we talked about your journey. We've talked about where you are now. But you have a lot of awards. I was going to write them down, and I said, no, I'm not doing that. It's too many. It's too many awards. But you just recently got a leadership award at the Black Excellence.
Yes, I received that a little less than a month ago. And when I got the call, when you've been around and been doing a lot of things, you don't think about it. You just do it. And I don't know about anyone else, but I don't do it for to be recognized for an award. I just do it because I've been asked, and I've been asked for a need. And so I try to provide. And so, even, almost 40 years later, I'm still, receiving these, opportunities and these awards, for doing what I love doing and helping as many people as I can help. So it was a beautiful night. The actual Black international pageant that came to Atlanta. It's an international pageant that is seen all over the world. And this year it came to Atlanta. Well, the person that was in charge was a relative of mine. And she asked if I would assist her in getting it out, getting interviews and opportunities to market and things like that. So I connected her with people. I utilized the platforms that I had and things like that. And so she said that we couldn't have thought of anyone else to give this award to because of how willing you were to help us. And I'm like that with anyone who calls if they are legitimate to help. But one that is the most dearest to me is to be inducted into the National Black Radio Hall of Fame.
Wow.
And that happened in 2020. And that is the most dearest because that says that this person have put the work and the time in this industry, and she will forever be thought of and looked upon as a Hall of Famer in this industry. So out of the many that I've received, and I'm grateful, don't get me wrong, I'm very grateful and thankful for anyone who wants to recognize me or who have recognized me. But after you've put so much time and effort in, and to know that you are being placed in the Hall of Fame, it really means so much, so much. So when I received that one, the second call that I made was to my mama, because I knew that it all started with her and my father. But my father passed before I graduated college, and I knew the struggles that my mother had, but I knew that she knew I needed to stay in college and be in college to one day have this opportunity. So it's very dear to my heart. And most recent, and I've been elected to be a part of the inaugural 30, and that is 30 women in radio to be placed into the Library of Congress. And on top of that, we'll also be a part of a museum that will be instructed over at the Woodruff Arts Center. And so 30 pieces of my history in the industry will be placed as a part of this museum that will be at the Woodruff Arts Center. And then it will eventually travel to historical Black colleges all around the country. And the women that's a part of the inaugural 30 are 30 women who's been in radio for as long as I have, and even some even younger. And people will be able to come and hear some of our first air checks and see some of the articles that were written on our behalf, and just a whole lot of artifacts that over my 40-year career that I will be put into this museum. So these latest two things have really brought joy to me, and have really just fueled the passion that I have for this industry.
Well, listen, congratulations. I mean, that is just awesome.
Thank you.
But it's still another indication that you're in your right purpose area.
Yes.
You're in your right area. Now, I want to talk a little bit about this. You don't have to give a whole lot, but as a Black woman in radio, we talked about some other challenges, but have you seen any in particular for Black women in radio?
We don't have time to talk about it because we could be here for at least a week. You know, challenges every day. One thing, the industry itself is very heavily male dominated, just period. I mean, period, across the board, from high level positions to, you know, walking in the door positions. And so to make your presence known, it can go two ways. It could go either she's too aggressive or she's not aggressive enough, you know. So it's a fine line that you have to walk even now. And believe me, you know, it's a challenge sometimes. Every Monday I sit in a room with 10, 6, between 7 and 8 people. If I said how many in my head, I'll know. But anyway, it's only 2 women in the room. And the majority of the other people that are in the room are men. And they aren't disrespectful at all. But to sometimes get your point, you know, you got to go in there. You got to go in there. So, you know, my thing is to equip myself with the knowledge and the skill set that whatever room I walk in, I am able to communicate what I need and to do the work that I have been asked to do. And that's what's in my mindset all the time. It's like, Joyce, just be ready. If you have to stay up half the night to be ready, stay up half the night. So when you walk into the room, you are ready, because a lot of times it's just societal that they don't really want you there. But they have to respect the fact that you are. And whatever you have to do to make your presence known without standing on top of the desk and screaming, then you got to do those things, especially in my industry that is heavily dominated by men. Like, one of our biggest issues is the majority of the time you hear men as a host of the morning shows, and the morning shows are the top rated or the most compensated of all positions in the radio industry. And 90+% of time, it's all held by a man, as if we aren't capable of doing a morning show. And so that still, even today, is still a challenge that we as women face, in saying, why aren't we still good enough that we can hold down a morning show and we are paid millions and millions and millions of dollars? Why is that? So there's still a tug of war there. There's still a fight there. And hopefully somebody long past me will be able to have that opportunity based on the work and the efforts that we are doing right now. So it is a tough field, because of the limit in the number of us that are in the business. But we stay strong. There's a organization that was just created, Black Women in Radio, and we hold monthly meetings, and we hold different type of workshops and things like that to help push and motivate and encourage and support women in the business, so that if they do have an opportunity to come up against a growth period, then if they are not familiar, then you have this organization that you can reach out to say, hey, been in that situation, I would suggest you do it XYZ way. And because of that, we're seeing much more movement than we've ever seen before. But there's still a bigger strides to make in the industry, and there's still a lot of challenges that we are faced with. But if we equip ourselves with the knowledge and the experience, then you go into the room with the expectation of getting what you came in there for.
Wow. Now, one last question. No, this is the one before the last one. If a young person that wants to go into the radio industry, what advice would you give them, for a starting point?
Well, here's the thing, Dr. Marcy, that is so different than 39 years ago. 39 years ago, there wasn't an internet that allowed you to jump on like right now, to go in and to do, shows and to develop your skill and your talent. So back 39 years ago, then of course the college education was a plus. The ability to have internships and opportunity to work within your industry was a plus. But today, you still have those things, but you have the internet. And so many people are now being hired strictly on popularity.
Yes.
On likes, on views. Yes. It's sad, but it's reality for those who have spent $40,000, $50,000 on an education, and you can't go into that industry or into that business because, someone became extremely popular and management went after that person and got them on the air to do what you have just graduated and have a student loan for. So, I'm not saying all of that to say don't pursue it from an educational standpoint, because the educational piece will come into play, especially when you're negotiating what you're worth and the experience that you have. But for someone who wants to give it a shot, all you have to do is open up your laptop or your tablet or even your phone and create the connecting point, and create the grown folks table, and create the red table, what's the name has, or create any of those things and do them so well or work at it so hard that it becomes popular. and somebody will seek after you more so than you seeking after a job. So still maintain and go get, education, because that's the best thing that you can ever give yourself is an education. But in 2022, 23, 24, 25, 26, you have technology that's so ready for you that I didn't have 39 years ago, that you can jump into it right now. Right now you can do it. And if you see where you need help and support at, then that's when you seek out people that can help train you. One of my things that I do is I develop talent at a studio. And these people come in, they purchase the studio time because they feel that they have this show that is going to be better than any show that you've ever heard. They have it, they feel that they are passionate about it, but they lack some skills in developing how you're going to make people really respect and listen to you. And that's where I come in at and teach them how to make people pay attention to what you're saying or have interest in what you're saying, because there's still a skill set there. Now, you might be able to talk, you might have an interesting topic, but you still have to have the skill set of selling. You're selling the connecting point. You're selling the content of it and what it is and what it will do to those that are viewing and those that are listening. If it wasn't sellable to them, you wouldn't be on here. If you wasn't giving them something that they can leave with or even have interest in watching, then you wouldn't be on here. And sometimes people have those ideas, but they don't know how to make it sellable. And I'm not saying dollars and cents, and a dollars and cents is good if you can get people to pay into what you're doing. But sellable means you got to sell them on who you are and what you are trying to give them. And if you don't have that skill set, if you don't have that talent, then you're wasting everybody's time. So that's another thing that I work with on helping develop talent. But anyone who has an interest, that have interest in telling people about something that you think that you can sell them on, then by all means, open up your laptop, open up your iPad, open up your phone, and just turn the mic on and start talking.
Start talking. Oh, that's a wonderful point to end with. I love that. Just open it up and start talking.
And start talking.
Yeah, just start talking. Just do it.
Just do it.
Remember when Nike said, just do it? Just do it.
Yeah, just do it.
Ms. Littel, how can someone contact you for speaking or for anything that you offer?
Well, I mean, social media is all of our friends, and you can send me anything. You can DM me, instant message me, either via Facebook, which is Joyce Littel, or Instagram, which is I am Joyce Littel. I check all of my messages, and once I receive the message, then I pass it on to, if I don't know you personally, like Dr. Marcy, I usually pass it on to someone who will actually get in contact with you and work out, schedules and appearances and things like that. So instant message me. You can call the radio station, which is 404 898-8900. You can call them. Once you call, they'll leave a message on my voicemail. I'll check it and follow up with you from there. But it's amazing about how many people have gotten to me rather, through social media. I think that's one of the better ways. Yes. I mean, I've even reached out to artists and stuff like that through social media and just saying, hey, I'm such and such. I'm interested in interviewing you, or I'm interested in booking you. And next thing you know, you get a call. Yeah.
And of course, audience, you can always tune in to the Quiet Storm.
Yes.
Yes. I
Tonight
love
at
it.
10.
Yes, yes. So, Mrs. Littel, thank you again for sharing your story with us today and inspiring all the listeners, including me. Yes. So
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes.
It's always a joy. I was watching the show with Robin Roberts and Michelle Obama, and how, just some of the things that had experienced, she was sharing them with us. And you would think someone in her position, you're like, you experienced that, and she came out, on a good side. So I think the more stories that we tell to help people understand that it's not an easy road, but it's still a road that you can travel. As long as you want to travel it. All success is not final. All failure is not a fail. I mean, if you lose, it's not a failure. It's just telling you that all you got to do is keep at it. That's it. Just keep at things that you enjoy, things that you have a passion about, things that you know you were placed on this earth to do. And when you know that in your heart of hearts, then any and everything will drive you to making sure that those things are accomplished, no matter what.
There it is. No matter what, there it is. Now, audience, like I say every week, if you would like to join me in a discussion here on the Connecting Point, reach out to me at drmarcyts@gmail.com. You can Google Dr. Marcy's Connections, and you can join the Creators of Connecting Point for Creators group on Facebook. It's just a group of creators where we network, we support each other, and you get words of inspiration throughout the week to help you keep going. This show airs on Tuesday nights at 7 p.m., Instagram TV, YouTube, Facebook, and you can get it on Wednesday nights at KBCN TV. You can listen on Spotify and Anchor. You have no excuse not to get some inspiration each week. All that I ask you to do is click like and share wherever that is possible. Now, until we get this moment again, peace and blessings.